Andy, do you ever find that some of your clients want to self-build, but they don't want to build themselves, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd say the vast majority of self-builders have neither the time, the inclination, or the wide range of skills to build a house themselves. Designing and building a house on time and on budget is a complex process. In my experience, most either want to self-manage their project or they want it managed by others.
Why do clients want to self-manage something as complicated as a house building project?
I think there are two reasons. Some people have just always wanted to build their own house, and there's probably a level of involvement where it's acceptable, if that's the right word, to use the term "we built this house." The other reason I think is financial. People self-manage to save money, although I think the financial gains are quite questionable. When someone self-manages to save money, I think they rarely take into account the true cost of the project as compared with an exact like-for-like built by professionals. For example, people put their own time in for free, which if it's in their spare time, I can understand. That said, managing a construction project is a full-time job, and I've known people give up their job to self-build, so that time has to come at a cost. Self-build projects, more often than not, take longer, with the subsequent impact perhaps on loans or mortgage repayments, or perhaps on payments for rental property while a house is built. We also know that a lot of tradespeople will add a premium to what they charge a self-builder. If a tradesperson is working on a professionally run site, they'll expect everything to be ready for them for when they start work. But they tend to expect a self-build site to be run differently, the level of information to be less comprehensive, the site to be less well prepared, and they're less likely to get a straight run at their work. Now, for these reasons, they tend to quote higher. In addition to this, they may well get repeat work from a main contractor and therefore have an agreed preferential rate with them.
Andy, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that there are a wide range of skills and professionals needed for a project. Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, sure. I mentioned it because I think a lot of people embark on self-build projects without understanding the number of different experts you need if you're going to get it right. And by right, I suppose I mean the house you want delivered on time within your budget. So, for example, a build project will normally require input from an architect, engineers, normally one for the substructure, that's below ground, and one for the superstructure above ground, a quantity surveyor, a land surveyor, a SAP consultant, just to name a few. While some people might do some of these things themselves, you simply can't do all of them unless you're a qualified engineer and an accredited SAP consultant and so on. In addition to these, you're likely to need an arboricultural survey, a ground condition survey, a percolation test, a habitat survey. Depending on the site, you may need to engage an archaeological consultant, a planning consultant, a highways consultant, and the list goes on. Alongside all of this, you need someone to look after the cost planning and the value engineering to ensure the project will come within budget and give you value for money. That in itself is a specialist skill.
Okay, so some people will self-build just because it's something they need to tick off their bucket list, and others because they believe they'll save money, and presumably some do it for both those reasons. If you had a client who's neither of those and still wants to self-build, how much involvement can the client have?
A slightly unhelpful answer is as much or as little as they want. However, I think it's quite easy to describe how most people get involved in their project when they work with professionals. They want to be very closely involved with the design, from the number and types of rooms to the style and the look and feel of the house. But they also want guidance and advice on what's possible, what's appropriate, and so on. Typically, they want to select fixtures and fittings and determine the specification for the house. But again, they want the advice where appropriate. They probably won't need help to choose taps, but probably will to decide on the most suitable heating system. In fact, the heating system is a very useful example. Normally people want to decide how they heat their house, gas boiler, air source heat pump, ground source heat pump, or whatever, but they rarely want to choose a specific make and model because they rely on the professional to provide the best solution. Heating in itself is a very specialist area, and normally a specialist would be engaged to design the heating system to suit the house.
So Andy, it sounds as though there is plenty for the client to be involved in, even if they've engaged a company to provide a full turnkey service.
Absolutely. In fact, for a working couple, for example, it can be a push to make the time just for all the decisions they want to be involved in. And that's with us filtering information so that they have what they need to make those decisions. Something else we do is to help our clients make decisions in phases. They can suffer from a sort of decision paralysis because they just don't know what to prioritise. For example, some decisions just aren't needed before you get planning permission, so they can wait for when the detailed specification and construction drawings are being done.
So what are the things to look out for someone managing a house build themselves?
Being certain that the design for which they get planning permission will give them everything they want within their budget, ensuring they're getting value for money when they get quotes from builders and tradesmen, getting a fixed price and a fair contract before work starts, ensuring the project is completed to the agreed specification on time and on budget.
So Andy, what would you say to someone who wants to self-build but doesn't want to be a self-builder?
There's plenty to do within a full turnkey service to satisfy most people's needs for involvement, from working with the architectural team during the design to choosing materials and finishes, kitchen, bathrooms. So once on site, you can really enjoy the process of the house coming together, help finesse the detail, and know that all the stresses and strains have been taken away from you.